Well, as the saying goes, better late than never. I apologize. So, in spite of my best efforts, my streaming software died on me. So, I'm doing this off the cuff. But anyway, thanks for being here. Whether you're watching now or you are watching the replay. I'm Deb James, Holistic Dementia Care Specialist. And since it's come up today, let's talk flexibility. Flexibility is something that you really need to have when dealing with a loved one with dementia. It can be really hard to understand it initially because oftentimes your loved one with dementia will feel more comfortable with a routine. And whenever possible, you should have a routine for them. They should be able to count on things being consistent. That helps with their comfort and their adjustment to things. So you want that consistency. If dinner is at a certain time every night, okay, dinner should be at a certain time every night. If bath time or bath day is a certain time or day, it needs to be consistent. Now, where the flexibility comes in is you as the caregiver. There will be times when things just don't go the way you planned. You can have an appointment scheduled for a certain time and have everything set up the night before, and you get up that morning and your loved one has decided that they're going to wear something else, decided that they're going to wear something inappropriate, possibly decided that they're not going. But you know they need to go. You know they need to attend that appointment. So here's where the flexibility comes in. How you approach the situation and how you deal with it mentally. While routine is great for the loved one with dementia, and it's essential in terms of their comfort, their level of understanding. For the caregiver, being strictly regimented is not going to benefit you. Hi, Lauren. Thanks for joining. So the flexibility comes into play in terms of how you cope with, hi Lisa, how you cope with the unexpected, basically. So an example I gave, everything's ready to go, you got everything set the night before for your loved one's appointment, you get up the next morning and things go completely sideways. What do you do? First and foremost, make sure that you are ready to go ahead of time. You should be ready long before your loved one, long before you start getting your loved one ready, because sideways happens, and it happens on a regular basis. So make sure that you're ready. You've got all your stuff lined up. You've got whatever paperwork you need. You've got whatever you need in your purse, car, what have you. Just make sure everything of yours is set up ahead of time, so that when you get that, okay, I'm not going to the appointment, you're going to be starting to get them ready, depending on how far the appointment is, at least an hour probably more like 90 minutes before you actually have to leave for the appointment, because that will give you time for sideways. Then you have to get into the mindset of, okay, this is still going to work. This is still going to work. For everything that you're going through, don't throw up your hands and say, okay, I give up. I'm done. We're not going. That's not going to benefit your loved one. And it's not going to benefit your relationship with them either. So you find ways to cajole them into going. And that could be as easy as saying, okay, let's go to your appointment and then we'll go shopping. Or let's go to your appointment and then we'll go to lunch. Try to put a little reward in there for them. You know how rewards work for you. I mean, it's something that's that is very common dealing with children. You know, want to go to the doctor? No, don't want to go to the doctor. I remember when I was, I guess, about 10 maybe. I went through the back door window. Don't need to get into that story now, but anyway, it was not intentional. It was a 10-year-old not understanding the laws of physics. But anyway, so when my mother took me to the emergency room, of course, they're like asking questions. What happened? They're looking at everything. And they immediately tell my mother that I'm going to need stitches. Okay. So they usher me into a little room. And I look and my mother's not there. She's like, you're big enough. You can go by yourself. And I'm like, okay. So they had me lay on the table and wait for the doctor. So the doctor came in, and there was another girl. It looked like she was maybe a tween or teen, early teens. And he went over because something was wrong with her hand. And he opened up her hand to see. And blood just splurted all over his shirt. And I'm thinking, oh my God, no. And you know, I'm getting more and more terrified at this point. So come to find out that the girl had cut her finger. But apparently she had gone deep enough that she had cut a tendon. And so the doctor said she needs to go down to surgery now. And then he puts on a jacket and comes over to my table. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? Anyway, so he's looking at my arm and checking it out and everything. And he's like, okay, we're going to have to numb you first. And this is at a naval place. So the tech says to me, I bet you're going to cry. And I said, no, I'm not going to cry. And he's like, I think you're going to cry. And I will bet you an extra lollipop that you're going to cry. And if you don't, then you'll get an extra lollipop. I said, I'm not going to cry, but that's okay. So they brought everything in and they started numbing my arm. And the doctor told me to count the ceiling tiles. So I counted the ceiling tiles. And at some point, I guess he was halfway through numbing everything. And he said, let me know when you get to 100. I said, I'm at 120. He said, keep counting. So I did. And then eventually, you know, everything was good. And I was fascinated at that point. And when he started stitching it up, I said, can I watch? He's like, sure. So I got to watch him stitch up my arm. I believe it was 19 stitches. And, you know, out of the corner of the eye, I saw my mother leaning in from the hallway. She was sitting in a chair in the hallway, and she was just kind of leaning in, looking. And when it was all over, the tech came back in, and he said, I guess you didn't cry. I said, no. He's like, well, I'll get you an extra lollipop. And I said, no, that's all right. I don't need one. I told you I wasn't going to cry. But you see where that kind of, what's the word I want? I can't think. Reward. Yes, reward. How that comes into play. So that is one way that you can encourage your loved one to cooperate and attend the appointment. Another thing that can happen, incentive. Good. I like that word, Lauren. Incentive. Yeah, incentive. Other things can happen. If your loved one has incontinence issues, that can come up. They may not be prepared, and they may soil themselves. And that's when you have plan B on clothes. You already know what's available, what you can grab quickly after you get your loved one cleaned up. Now, as far as cleaning up, you know, room, bed, whatever, to be honest, it can wait. It really can. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to smell great, but it can wait. Because your objective is to get them to the appointment on time. So you can bag everything up and put it aside and deal with it when you come back. But remember, if you had suggested an incentive for your loved one, you need to follow through on that, even before you head back home and deal with the cleanup. You need to follow through on that. Another thing that can happen is your loved one could not be feeling well. I mean, they could not, they could be having another issue altogether. So if your loved one says, I'm not feeling right, you want to investigate that. And again, if you're going an hour and a half before you have to leave, that'll give you enough time to investigate. So you want to check their temperature, you want to check their blood pressure, you want to see if they're having any pain anywhere. It's possible that they're having, they may be having a TIA or a stroke. TIA is a mini stroke. In which case you can check to see if their face is drooping, if their grip strength is different from one side to the other, if they're showing any weakness on one side or the other. If that's the case, you dial 911 and get an ambulance there and get them to the hospital immediately. And then flexibility also comes in with issues that you as the caregiver may be having. You could be having an off day. You could be not feeling well. And that's going to factor in. You're still going to have to get your loved one to the appointment. But you have to take care of yourself as well. So if it's something that you know could possibly be a contagion, if you think it's a cold or a virus or COVID possibly, then you're going to have to cancel things. You're going to have to cancel the appointment because you don't want to take the chance of infecting someone else, especially if it's COVID. And if it is COVID, excuse me 1 second.
When did they do the dilation? Was it on the 8th?
Yeah.
So that may be part of it.
Okay. Sorry about that. My husband is doing a video visit with my mom's doctor, so at the same time. So 2 things going on at once. Yeah, talk about flexibility. Anyway, so yeah, if you have any type of COVID symptoms or flu symptoms, you do not want to be taking your loved one to the doctor or anywhere else. You also want to check and make sure that your loved one is not having any issues. You want to give them a COVID test, a home COVID test, as you give yourself one. Because even if you have been vaccinated, revaccinated, you can still get COVID. And I can attest to that from experience. It can happen. You can do everything possible and still get it. The other thing you can do is have a backup person that can take over for you. Someone that your loved one knows, someone that your loved one trusts, and make sure that that person is, they're going to be, let them know they're going to be on call. And if something is wrong with yourself, or if you just not feeling well or what have you, you might trip and sprain your ankle. Not a good place to be going to the doctor or another appointment for your loved one when you're injured. So make sure you have a backup. Make sure you have someone that you can call and say, hey, here's what I need. I can't take him. You need to. I need you to step in. Make sure that that person has a list of your loved one's medications, history, medical history for your loved one. Make sure that they know what the appointment is about. And make sure that they have a cell phone with your number on it so that if something comes up during the visit, they can contact you. And they may need to contact you just for clearance so that they know that this other person is allowed to have access to your loved one's medical information. So, any questions about anything? I'm looking in the chat. The main thing with flexibility is you just have to learn to go with the flow. And for some people that's difficult. It's very difficult. But okay, Lauren says, I don't have that. I'm exploring for possibilities, but for now we reschedule. Yeah, and that may be necessary. That may be what you need to do. Things happen. Life happens. And you just don't know what's around the corner. So, let's see. Lauren, are you the only one here? I know Lisa was here earlier. I don't know that she's still in here. So, flexibility is the key. Have patience with yourself. Give yourself a break. You're not a superwoman. You're not a super person. Do what you need to do to take care of you so that you can take care of your loved one. So that's it for this time, and I hope to see you next time. Stay blessed. Bye.